Good morning. It is November 4 and I stayed the night at Rockhound State Park in New Mexico, southern New Mexico. I am starting off this morning from the visitor center, going to do a round trip loop of combination of 2 trails. And isn't this cool? They made really good use of rocks here. So the trail that starts from the visitor center is the Jasper Trail. It's going to connect up to another trail. So this state park and a state park in Arkansas are the only 2 state parks in all of the United States that allow you to take rocks from their park. They encourage it. You're allowed to have up to 15 pounds of rocks because there's special minerals and gems here, I guess. So I'm sure that it's picked clean by now, and I don't have room for rocks. But anyway, it's kind of neat. If you're a rock hound, you definitely need to come to Rockhound State Park. The early morning sun is nice, and it's not hot yet. Yesterday was so hot when I got here. This is the first area in New Mexico that I'm seeing barrel cactus. So that's pretty neat. I eat my words. There's still lots of rocks to get. Would help if you pick them up off the path. It's a pretty rocky pathway. Today we find out how God delivers David from the pickle he got himself into. You see, he was always on the run from King Saul, and eventually he decided to seek asylum living with the Philistines. But he did not consult God on this matter. The Philistine king Achish took a liking to David and supported him, but the Philistines were mortal enemies of Israel, and now they were preparing for battle, and the king expected David to fight against his fellow Hebrews. The crisis was approaching, and I'm sure David was panicking. Well, the lords of the Philistines passed by in review, and they asked King Achish, "Hey, what are these Hebrews doing here?" King Achish said to the princes, "This is David, the servant of Saul, who has been with me all these years, and I find no fault in him, since he has defected to me." There's a glimpse of the campground. It's not a real big establishment. That's for sure not a typical New Mexico state park where you drive for miles from one campground to the next. But it's nice. But the princes of the Philistines were angry with the king and said, "Make this fellow go back, and do not let him go down with us to battle, lest during the battle he become our adversary. Isn't he the guy the women sang about? Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. So that's the end of the Jasper Trail. And now I am going on to the Thunder Egg Trail. This one's going to be more of a climb, I feel. This is just a big random rock by the side of the trail. That's really neat. So Achish had to tell David, "As the Lord lives, you have been upright, and I find no evil in you since the day of your coming to me. But the lords of the Philistines are not pleased by you. Go now, return, go in peace, that you may not displease the lords of the Philistines." Oh, a nice sitting area, but it's all rusted out. Princes and lords are used interchangeably, and actually they are the kings of the other 4 cities that constitute the Philistine Union. Before ordering David to leave the battlefield, Achish praises David's loyalty to him. He is not aware that David has been telling him lies. In this case, God saves David's life, not because of what he does, but in spite of it. David pretended to be offended. "What have I done? What did you find in me that I may not go to battle against the enemies of my lord the king?" But secretly in his heart, he was happy he did not have to go to war against Israel. So David told him to leave early in the morning with his men and go back to the land of the Philistines where they were being housed. This was probably a diplomatic way of telling David that if the morning light still found him and his men in the camp, the princes would put them to death. No doubt David felt greatly relieved at such an official release. Now there could be no feelings that he and his men had failed to appreciate the kindness of Achish in granting them asylum from Saul. As David headed for home, he no doubt praised God for his divine protection and miraculous deliverance. So what I want for you to get out of this chapter is the manner in which God works for the salvation of his children. He wants people to accept his ways, but leaves them free to reject his suggestions if they wish. It is inevitable that mistakes will be made, and the trials that result become proving grounds that reveal the error in judgment. David chose refuge in Philistia on the basis of self-protection from Saul. Suiting his actions to his feelings, he soon found the seeds of self-interest had produced a harvest of pretense and falsehood. But David acknowledged his error and at heart sought to follow the divine blueprint. Oh, another tarantula. I've seen 2 now on my New Mexico trip. This attitude allowed God to shape circumstances that brought deliverance to him, even though the difficulty David found himself in was the result of his own mistake. So even though we make mistakes and don't seek God in everything that we do, he still has such mercy for his children and will open up the doors of salvation for them. It's our choice if we want to go through those open doors. Boy, there's lots of pickings here if you want. So rocky. The Healing Hiker gives this Jasper and Thunder Egg trail around Rockhound State Park a 4.5 out of 5. I very much enjoyed it. Because King Achish was so good to David, he could have stayed with him. But because David saw the way of escape God had provided, he left. Are you willing to be saved?